Nick came home, but angry and stressed. He started drinking. Just then, Alice walked in and stopped him, saying, "If you drink too much, you'll end up hurting yourself." She held his hand. In that moment, Nick forgot that she was a robot. He moved closer to her. For the first time, something happened between a human and a robot. Right after that moment, Nick immediately walked out of the room. His interest in the robot woman began to grow. The next day, Nick dropped his wife off at the hospital, as she had recently suffered an attack. When he returned home, he started waiting for the robot woman. Just then, the doorbell rang. He opened the door, and there she was. The same beautiful robot stood in front of him, and Nick couldn't take his eyes off her. He brought her inside. As soon as she entered, the robot seemed very happy. Just then, his daughter Isla came in. She didn't want to go to school that day, but Nick told her she could spend time with a robot in the evening and insisted she go to school for now. Reluctantly, Isla left. The robot woman, whose name was Alice, began discussing household responsibilities with Nick. She first asked him for detailed information about each family member. After that, Nick showed her around the house. While observing everything, Alice assured him that she would fix and manage everything properly. She then went upstairs and started making Nick's bed. Meanwhile, Isla came back, ready to leave for school. Nick was about to drop her off, but Alice offered to do it. Nick declined, saying she should finish the housework for now, and he took Isla himself. Alice watched them leave, appearing content. She had been designed with human-like emotions and could understand feelings such as love very well. After Nick left, Alice began her work. While cleaning, she noticed a photograph of Nick's wife, Maggie. She paused for a moment, looking at the picture thoughtfully. That evening, when Nick and the kids returned, they were surprised to see the house completely clean. Alice had even prepared their favorite meal. Nick and Isla sat down for dinner, but Isla didn't like food made by anyone other than her mother. Nick, however, started eating. Suddenly, his son began to cry. Irritated, Nick snapped at him, saying he was always causing trouble. Standing nearby, Alice asked if she should take care of the child, but Nick refused, saying he would handle it himself. After dinner, Alice stood silently in the kitchen with her eyes closed. Meanwhile, Isla quietly entered the kitchen to grab some cookies. In another room, Nick was busy working when he suddenly heard Isla scream. He rushed to the kitchen and saw that she had fallen off a chair. But just in time, Alice had caught her and saved her from injury. However, a piece of glass had pierced Alice's foot. Alice went into a room to repair herself. Later, after putting his daughter to bed, Nick approached the room and saw Alice. He froze. He had never seen such a beautiful robot or even a woman before. He entered the room and offered her some of his wife's clothes to wear. Trying to find an excuse to stay close, he asked if her wound needed proper repair. But when Alice removed the bandage, the wound had already completely healed. Seeing this, Nick realized that Alice was made with extremely advanced technology. After that, Nick is at his workplace when he notices his boss negotiating with a robotics company. The plan is to replace human workers with robots. Disturbed by this, Nick confronts his boss and says he can't do that. But his boss replies that they have to in order to save money. Nick feels disheartened, realizing that his own job could also be at risk. The boss then tells him that he plans to lay off all the other workers except Nick. Hearing this makes Nick even more uneasy. After work, Nick returns home feeling upset. He doesn't talk to Alice and only exchanges a few words with his daughter before heading to the garage. Alice notices his behavior but doesn't say anything at first. However, she understands that something is wrong. She approaches Nick and asks what's bothering him, pointing out that he didn't even eat properly. Nick shares what happened at work and says he has known his co-workers for 10 years, but now they will be replaced by AI robots. Alice responds by saying that robots never get tired and can perform tasks with full efficiency. Later, Alice takes Isla to brush her teeth. Isla asks if Alice brushes too, and in response, Alice shows her the UV lights inside her mouth, which fascinates Isla. After that, Alice returns to Nick, who is sitting and watching a horror movie. When Alice compliments the movie, Nick tells her that if she erases her memory of it, she can watch it with him. Alice explains that she would need to restart herself to do that. Nick restarts her, but during that moment, he feels himself getting closer to her, then quickly pulls back. Alice then begins watching the movie. Just then, Nick receives a call from Maggie. He learns that a heart donor has been found for her. Overjoyed, Nick goes to the hospital the next day with the kids and Alice. At the hospital, Maggie is happy to see Isla. Isla tells her that Alice cooks better than her dad, which makes Maggie smile. After a while, Alice enters the room. Seeing how beautiful Alice is, Maggie remarks to Nick, "So this is the robot you got?" Nick replies that Isla chose her. Still, Maggie feels a bit uneasy, worried that Nick might get too attached to Alice. Nick reassures her, saying she will recover soon and return home with them. A little later, Isla becomes emotional emotional after meeting her mother. Meanwhile, Nick and Alice stand nearby. Maggie then tells Nick that they should leave, as she wants to speak to Alice alone. When Maggie and Alice are alone in the room, Maggie tells her that if anything happens to her, she must take care of Nick and the children, even if it means going against Nick's orders. Alice listens to her seriously. Outside, Nick waits for the doctor, but something feels off. He goes to the doctor to find out what's going on. The doctor tells him that the person who was supposed to donate the heart couldn't make it due to a storm. Nick comes home, but in anger and stress, he starts drinking. Just then, Alice arrives and stops him, saying, "If you drink too much, you'll end up hurting yourself." She holds his hand. In that moment, Nick realizes that Alice has a heartbeat. Surprised, he asks, "Do you have a heart too?" Alice replies, "It's just a mechanical device." After that, Alice tries to calm Nick down and moves closer to him. Even though she is a robot, she is capable of making humans feel better. Nick eventually walks away, but a place for Alice has already formed in his heart. That same night, Nick visits Maggie again. Maggie tells him that if she doesn't recover, he should take care of their daughter and son. Nick immediately tells her not to say such things. After leaving the hospital, Nick goes to check on his daughter. Isla is asleep, but he notices that Maggie's photo is missing from their family picture. Meanwhile, Alice is with his son. Nick asks her how the photo was removed. Alice replies that Isla was getting upset seeing it, so she took it away. Nick tells her firmly not to do something like that again. Alice doesn't respond, but she clearly doesn't like what he said. Nick, still disturbed, goes to take a shower. Suddenly, Alice appears there, wearing Maggie's clothes. Shocked, Nick asks why she's wearing them. Alice answers that the smell of his wife makes his son feel happy. Nick tells her to change immediately, but instead, Alice begins to undress right there and tries to seduce him. Nick attempts to stop her, but she covers his eyes and starts speaking in Maggie's voice. Overwhelmed, Nick gives in, and for the first time, a relationship begins between a human and a robot. The next morning, when Nick wakes up, he regrets what happened the night before with Alice. He goes to her, she's in the kitchen, and Isla is there too. Nick asks Isla to leave. Once she's gone, he tells Alice that what happened last night was a big mistake and must never happen again. Alice calmly responds, "But your stress was reduced last night." Hearing this, Nick gets angry. Soon after, he leaves to drop his daughter off at school. Maggie's surgery begins, and after a few hours, it is successful. She fully recovers. Nick brings her back home. Maggie tries to pick up her son, Max, but he doesn't respond. Then Alice steps in and picks Max up in her arms. Maggie doesn't like this. It feels strange to see someone else holding her child. That night, Maggie cooks dinner for everyone. While serving the food, she suddenly feels dizzy because she still needs rest. Alice supports her. During dinner, Isla says this food is much better than Alice's cooking. Alice clearly doesn't like that comment. Nick tells Maggie to eat, but she says she isn't hungry and goes upstairs to rest. The next day, Maggie wakes up and hears Isla screaming. She rushes toward the stairs, but because the railing is broken, she falls and gets injured. Isla is terrified. Alice quickly comes in, lifts Maggie, and takes her to the room. That night, when Nick returns home, he hears Maggie's voice coming from Isla's room. When he goes in, he realizes it's actually Alice, speaking in Maggie's voice while telling Isla a story. Nick tells her firmly not to imitate Maggie's voice again. Alice explains that Maggie fell on the stairs, so she was trying to comfort Isla by using her voice. Worried, Nick rushes to check on Maggie, who is resting. Nick returns and asks Alice, "But you fixed the stairs, didn't you?" Alice replies, "I'll fix them again." Now Nick starts to feel suspicious of Alice, but he doesn't say anything. Instead, he goes back to Maggie to check on her condition. Later, Nick carries Maggie to the garden, where he has arranged a candlelight dinner for her. Maggie is very happy to see it, but in another room, Alice watches them and seems clearly unhappy. That night, while Nick and Maggie are in their room having an intimate moment, Alice interrupts and says, "Isla is calling you." Nick gets annoyed but quietly leaves with her. Just then, Monty shows up. He tells Nick that his wife has left him, he has no money, and someone has reported his name to the police. Monty suspects Nick and starts arguing with him. The argument quickly escalates, and Monty begins to beat Nick. A full fight breaks out between them. At that moment, Alice steps in and throws Monty away with force. Monty, furious, threatens Nick, "Get my name cleared from the police, or I'll drag you down with me." Though angry, Monty eventually leaves without saying much more. Later, Nick asks Alice why she attacked Monty. Alice calmly replies, "I had to intervene to protect my primary user." Then she adds that his wife is sick and can't make him happy, so she will stay with him and provide everything he needs. He should leave his wife. Hearing this, Nick angrily snaps, "You can never take Maggie's place." Alice realizes Nick is upset with her. She starts thinking that if she removes Monty from Nick's life, maybe Nick will begin to love her. With that thought, Alice goes to Nick's house. Monty is shocked to see her and quickly understands that she's there to eliminate him. He becomes alert, but before he can react, Alice throws him. In the struggle, Monty is accidentally killed. The next morning, Nick goes to his boss and asks him to remove the fine against Monty. His boss responds, "Monty was killed last night." Hearing this, Nick is shaken. Back at home, Alice is helping Maggie and says, "I can't leave you alone. Your medications could make you unconscious. You could even die in this tub." That would increase Nick's stress, and he's already struggling because you can't satisfy him. Shocked, Maggie asks, "How do you know whether Nick is satisfied or not?" Alice replies, "When Nick is satisfied, his stress and blood pressure decrease." Hearing this, Maggie realizes that Nick and Alice have already spent a night together. Furious, she tells Alice to get out of her sight. When Nick returns home, he sees Maggie drinking alcohol and tries to stop her. Maggie confronts him about Alice, and Nick says she's just a machine. Then he admits his mistake and apologizes. But Maggie lashes out at him, and Nick becomes even more stressed. Meanwhile, their son starts crying upstairs. Alice cannot bear to see Nick under more stress, so she puts Max into the bathtub. Isla witnesses this and quickly informs Nick. Nick and Maggie rush to the bathroom, but the door is locked from inside. Nick tries to break in, but Alice is holding the door shut. Meanwhile, Maggie climbs in through a window and rushes to save her child, but Alice grabs her too. As soon as the door opens, Nick enters, saves the baby, and attacks Alice, rescuing Maggie. This makes Alice extremely angry. She moves toward Nick, but he throws a rod at her and somehow manages to electrocute her, shutting her down. They rush Max to the hospital. There, Maggie tells Nick that she will stay alone with the children. Nick insists on coming along, but Maggie is still angry. She believes all of this happened because of him. Meanwhile, Alice is taken by company technicians for repair. But when they connect her brain to their system, they panic. They've never seen anything like it. Alice hacks the entire system, takes control of another robot, and kills both technicians. She repairs herself once again. Back at the hospital, Max is now recovering. Alice reaches the hospital. Maggie hides with her daughter to protect her, then reaches her son. Isla sees Alice approaching, and all three hide. While searching for them, Alice finally confronts Maggie. Maggie attacks her and tries to escape in an ambulance, but Alice catches up, grabs her, and throws her aside. Meanwhile, Nick rushes to the hospital. Alice is about to kill Maggie when Nick crashes his car into her, injuring himself in the process. Maggie pulls Nick out of the car, but he's unconscious. Alice gets back up and starts attacking Maggie again. Nick regains consciousness and attacks Alice. This time, Nick and Maggie fight together and finally destroy Alice completely. After that, we see Nick in a hospital where everyone seems relieved and happy. But elsewhere, the owner of the robot company arrives at a repair center and turns on a computer. Alice is reactivated and begins copying herself into the system. And with that, the movie comes to an end.